The following is the full interview that I did with Mike Crowley, who is currently walking across America. In the video I posted yesterday, there was only, a bit of this interview, but this is the full 23-minute interview. We got into some really interesting topics that he has encountered during his walk. And so very interesting. And here you go. Well, joining me today, this is Mike Crowley. Did I pronounce that right, Crowley?
That's right.
Mike Crowley, and he has the YouTube channel I Like Mike, like the old Gatorade commercials. So that's a good. I'm surprised that one was available. I Like Mike.
Yeah.
I was going to read your the little about info on your channel. It says through bikes and van life across the USA from Pacific to Atlantic and from Upper Peninsula Michigan to Key West, Florida. Videos once a week every Saturday morning. And you've got about 300 videos. You're at, around 3,500 subscribers, which, as we were talking before we came on here, I think that's really low. We need to get that number up. Definitely.
Yeah, there you go, everybody. Come on over.
It looks like you started posting about, regularly about 5 years ago. And the thing that, you commented on a video of mine from No Man's Land in Oklahoma, and that was originally how I saw your channel. And you're walking across America right now. So obviously everybody wants to know, why are you doing this?
Well, this is actually Walk Across America number 3. My first one was in 2019. I thought it was only going to be a one-off type of deal. And everybody asked, well, why did you walk across America the first time? And I tell them it was 10 years in coming. It started as one of those random thoughts, that come across your mind. You're going to walk across America, and like, as quickly as it came, it went away. And over the years, it would come and go, come and go, come and go. And so I started planning it, and then it happened in 2019. The short answer is it was a God thing. And then as I was getting towards the end of that first walk, which was from Southern California to Delaware, as I was in Ohio, starting to think about, well, what am I going to do when I'm done? I guess go back to work. I guess buy another place. And then some guy contacted me on my YouTube channel, and he said, what are you going to do when you're done? And I told him, well, I guess go back to work, buy another place. And then he wrote me back. And Air Force vet, that's you if you're watching. He wrote me back and said, no, you should think about walking from Upper Peninsula, Michigan down to Key West. And as soon as I read that, I thought, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. And when I got to the Atlantic Ocean, I had it in my mind, okay, I'm going to walk from Upper Peninsula, Michigan down to Key West. So that's how the second walk came about. And I did that during COVID. And when I got down to Key West, down to the southernmost monument, I told myself, that's it. I'm done with this stuff. Forget it. And I took the train up to my friend's house in Northern Virginia, and immediately got shingles. I was on the couch for 5 weeks, and as I was on the couch, that still small voice, there's going to be another walk. So that's how walk number 3, which I'm on now, started. In the meantime, though, I bought a 4-wheel drive ambulance, and I've been living in that, driving all around, sort of like what you're doing. And so I've done that for a couple of years, and now the ambulance is up in my friend's barn in Minnesota, and I'm on the walk. And when I'm done with the walk, go back to the ambulance and start doing that again.
So how long will the walk take? I know that you take breaks. I know watching your videos, you're very detailed in how you explain what you're doing. And I know you got stuck in Nevada for a period of time because you're waiting on supplies. So what was the original plan for how long it'll take? And then what do you think it'll eventually take by the time you get there?
The first walk, which was about 3,800 miles, was about 9.5 months. This walk is about 3,900 miles. So again, probably 9.5 months. I started in March, and the plan is to end maybe on New Year's Eve at Cape Hatteras. So we'll see if that holds out. It might slip a couple of weeks, but that's the plan.
And how long do you kind of walk every day? How far would you say, or how many hours?
14 to 18 miles is the average, so that's about 6 to 8 hours a day, and that's including breaks and stuff. So my average speed, including breaks and everything, is about 2 miles an hour. I can usually bang out 3.1, 3.3 miles an hour on the flats. But when you take into account the breaks that I take, it's about a 2 mile an hour pace.
So I got more questions about your current trip, but kind of stepping back a little bit. What's your background? Where'd you grow up? Where are you from? Were you a long distance runner? Like, how did you get into thinking that you could do something like this?
Yeah. So I lived in Southern California all my life, in Orange County. For those of you who don't know where Orange County is, that's the county that's between Los Angeles and San Diego. So I lived there all my life. I was in Boy Scouts. We did a lot of hiking and stuff every month in the mountains of Southern California, and then during the summer we'd go up in the Sierras and do a lot of longer trips. So that's my background as far as hiking and backpacking goes. And then life gets in the way, you get in the career and all that. And I didn't do very much hiking and backpacking. And then when this random thought came in 2009, I hadn't done very much backpacking and stuff for many, many years. So that's the background as far as my hiking and stuff goes. What was the second part of the question?
Well, I obviously asked you where you were from, but what did you do for a living, or
Okay, so
how do you
for
pay?
a living, I was in real estate. Started out as an agent, then eventually became general manager and vice president of a real estate company. So managed the operations of that, and then in 2005 we sold the company, and then I went back to being an agent, and then just basically did that until 2019 when I just hit the road and moved on.
So obviously, there's days where it doesn't cost very much money out there, and then there's days where you might stay in a hotel where
Yeah,
it's $50.
yeah. People ask, how much it must cost a lot when you're hiking across the country, and I tell them, actually, no, it's not that much because you have your food costs. We all have our food costs, and then the only cost you're going to add on top of that is if you're going to stay in a motel once a week or every 10 days or whatever to get a shower, whether you need it or not. And then if you can take a restaurant meal here and there. So it's actually a pretty cheap lifestyle. It's a pretty easy lifestyle because you don't have to worry about paying the mortgage, putting gas in the car, and all that sort of stuff.
Speaking of, I see you sleeping under trees a lot. You'll just find like a nice shady spot, and there'll be you don't have a tent, right? You're just kind of sleeping in the air.
Yeah, I do carry a tent for those times like today where it might start to rain, or for when there's just tons of mosquitoes. But I like just sleeping out under the stars because it's really easy. You just roll out the pad, roll out the sleeping bag, and you're done. And then the same thing in the morning, you just pack it up and get on going. And also too, it's a nice thing because it really gives you that sense that you really are out there in nature with nature, and you're not cooped up in this little cocoon. And I found that when I've been in a tent out of necessity or whatever, it becomes this little cocoon that's really cozy and comfy, right? And then I don't want to get up and go to school, mommy. And so I end up that if I'm in the tent, it actually takes me longer to get started. And then it's like, oh, now I got to hurry up and make my miles.
Obviously, walking through some of the places you've been, I've driven through some of the places that you're walking through. It's very desolate. Have you ever gotten in trouble, and not trouble like with the law, but just feeling like, shoot, I'm in a situation here that I'm kind of worried about?
Oh yeah. So on this trip, when I was going through Nevada, and just a side note, most people don't really think about this, but Nevada is actually the most mountainous state in the United States, and Nevada actually has the most named peaks than any other state in the union. But anyway, when I was going through Nevada, it was snowy, like was up in the Arctic Wilderness and got snowed on, and was basically stuck out there for a day. Couldn't do it. Couldn't go anywhere. But then the other part of that section as well is that the river was just all engorged that I couldn't get across it. So I had to basically bushwhack across the steep slopes and the cliffs and all that. And then coming down through there, I had the roaring river crossings that kids don't do this at home, but I had to do those things alone. And it's, looking back on it, it was fun, but it was stupid to do it alone. But, I had to do it to get down off the mountain. So, and then the next mountain range after that was the Alta Toquimas, and same thing. I got up there to the top, and there was just a whole bunch of snow. It was all iced out, so I had to take a day just to kind of figure out what my route was going to be that wasn't going to kill me. And then the same thing as going down there. I had I think I had like 21 stream crossings to get down off that mountain range, and yeah, Nevada was pretty tough. It took a lot out of me. But looking back at it too, it was quite a lot of fun.
Do you think about, the travelers, the old pioneers that went down the Oregon Trail, or maybe through some of the areas you went through, and you're actually doing what they did? A lot of them ended up walking. They didn't all, weren't on a wagon necessarily.
Yeah.
Do you really connect with, like, man, this is what they were kind of going through?
Yeah, I think about that a lot. And what it really hit home with me on my first walk, when I got to eastern Colorado, there's a place called Bent's Old Fort. And Bent's Old Fort was where the Santa Fe Trail would come through. And it was a resupply point, and it was also a point where the settlers would come. They would come down, and then the Santa Fe Trail would split off into two sections. But what hit home when I got there is I took the little tour when I was going there, and the guy was pointing out when we were up there on the fence on the fort, said, "Yeah, just right over there at the Arkansas River, which was about 200 yards away, that used to be the Mexican border." And then I go, "Oh yeah, your American history, Mexico was way up here." And so that's when I began to really be cognizant of history. So on that whole first trip, it was I was steeped in the Santa Fe Trail because I was basically following that all the way to St. Louis. And then on the second trip, I was learning a whole bunch of new history, especially up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, which as a kid from California, you didn't really learn that history up there. And then on this trip, it was basically the California Emigrant Trail that I've been following through California. And of course, the Donner Pass, people probably know about that, the infamous Donner Pass party. And now on this trail, I'm going to hit a little bit of a Santa Fe Trail again. And then I'll be getting some new history when I go through Oklahoma and Arkansas and Mississippi, Alabama, all those states that I haven't really steeped myself in. So yeah, I do think about that history a lot.
I'm from Ohio originally, and so I moved out to Kansas in 2006, and I grew up learning about Ohio history. That was one of the classes we took in school, and you take U.S. history, but not until you actually live there or experience it do you really kind of connect. So moving to Kansas and living in another part of the country, it's like understanding how, like, the Civil War in Kansas was so much different than it was in Ohio, where I was from, and then going down to places that you're getting ready to go through in Oklahoma, the no man's land area, and the Santa Fe Trail. And it's just fascinating. And all parts of the United States have these different historical things to learn about, like 10 different countries or something like that. And so you get to take your time a little bit more compared to like driving. A lot of mine, obviously, I'm driving across the country. I'm doing some road trips. You really get to experience it more slowly, I guess, and really probably seeps in, I'm guessing, better than that would be a difference between walking and driving, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Two things that I tell people. One example is, let's say you're driving across the plains, whether it's Kansas, Nebraska, even in Oklahoma or whatever, Iowa, whatever. And you're driving across there, and people will think, "Oh, it's so flat and boring. It's just cornfields, wheat fields, cows, cornfields, wheat fields, and cows." But then I tell people, when you're walking those dirt roads along each of those fields of corn or wheat, or there's pastures with the cows, each of those fields really has its own little personality. I mean, you can just by walking through it. And then also too, the people, you get a different flavor of a sense of the people, other than just stopping at a rest stop or at a convenience store or something along the interstate or whatever. When you get into those little towns, especially the towns that are on the dirt roads and stuff, I mean, you really get to see, I think, the authentic person and the authentic sense of what a person is all about in each of those areas. So yeah, it's really different going the slow route.
And I guess that might answer the next question I had was, how do you occupy your mind with things? But I'm guessing these are some of the things that you're thinking about as you're walking
Yeah.
along, just kind of experiencing where you're at.
Yeah, a lot of long distance hikers, they'll listen to podcasts or books on tape or whatever. But I just turn everything off. I listen to nature, or even just turn my mind off and just be there. But I also do think a lot about the history that I'm going through, and I also think about the connections that I've made with the people as I've gone through the places. And I think, living in the quiet, our society today, not only in the United States, but I think worldwide, our society is just now so filled with noise and doing stuff that it's really therapeutic to be just walking hours and hours on end in the silence and listening to the cicadas or the birds or whatever. It's very peaceful.
So do you ever get bored out there?
No, I don't think I could say I get bored. Even in the flat areas where it's just a vast expanse of a horizon, there's always something that will be interesting to see. Whether it's that lone tree that you can see a mile and a half away, or whether it's, like I said, the edge of the cornfield, or whether it's the different rocks on the road or whatever. Never get bored. No.
Okay, two more questions, and I'll let you get going because I know you got more to go today. Have you had any dangerous encounters with animals?
I've had a couple bears, and they've run away when they've seen me. In fact, the animals have actually helped me. As an example, on the first walk, I was going up and over the Continental Divide, and there was no trail because it was just all full of snow. And so just follow the elk tracks, and that got me up and over the pass. So never any problems with animals, no.
Interesting. Yeah, I just went to Alaska, and being from Kansas or Ohio, you're always like, man, bears. You worry about bears, especially in Alaska. And everybody up there, they're like, yeah, you don't have to worry about these black bears. They're gonna run away from you, or just don't feed them, or anything like that. It's almost like deer or something. They don't even worry about them. I mean, they're aware, but it's not like most people think of bears. Now, a grizzly bear might be different, but you don't see those, very often, more than like a black bear.
Yeah, even on my second walk in Florida with the alligators, I'd be walking up on those dikes and those canals, and the alligators, as soon as they see you, they just scurry off right into the water.
Well, final question. You probably have a little bit of spare time out there. Do you watch other YouTube channels? And if so, what are some of your favorite channels that like to pass your time?
Well, I came across yours, so you helped me pass the time. That's for sure. There's others. There's like a van traveler YouTube channels. Adventure Van Man is one. Catherine Gregory I've watched from time to time. Like I said, I've watched yours. There's a couple hiking channels that I've seen. There's actually a girl that I met on the second walk, Dixie. She's got a channel called Homemade Wanderlust, and that's a pretty good channel. She's got a pretty squared away thing going there. So those are a few that I can think off the top of my head.
Have you found it? I guess I have one last question. Have you found it kind of different to document your travels this way compared to just traveling? Like I've found it very, I don't know if the word's rewarding, but it's a different way to do it, to revisit the trip, I guess, to instead of maybe photos, to actually listen to myself talk about it or, experience it. Have you found documenting it has made it more easier to remember, more memorable?
Yeah, it's not only easier or memorable, but it's easier to document as well because, if I were to have kept a log, a journal, man, I know me, I'd write for hours and hours and then I probably would never read it again. Whereas with a video, it's, you've got the images and you've got actually your voice and the tone of voice, and even you can kind of figure out what's been going on that day, if you sound tired or energized or whatever. So yeah, documenting it by video has been very helpful, and I think a lot of people, well, the people that stumble upon my channel have liked it. I can, yeah, it's been very good.
Well, I hope more people stumble across your channel. Like I said, the YouTube channel is I Like Mike, very easy to remember. And
Yep, all one word.
And you have a website as well, ilikemike.com, and that's how I found your email address and reached out to you. And it has all your trips organized. So if anybody wants to watch any of your other trips, you also have an Instagram page, ilikemike.77, I found on there. So make sure,
yep.
Mike has some real fascinating content. So make sure you follow him. And it's remarkable. I mean, I've done some long trips, but it's nothing like what you're doing. So I can't even imagine. So very few people are able to do what you do. So thank you for providing us lots of entertainment, and we hope that you have a safe journey on to the East Coast.
Well, thank you very much. And I want to point out to your viewers as well that they may not realize this, but I think that you recently put up a map that has pins of all the places that you've been. So for you viewers that have been watching John and didn't realize this, click through to find his map, and you can go to each place and say, "Oh, I want to find out about that place." John will tell you all about it.
Yeah, I found that's been popular. So I wasn't sure how that would go, but I really liked it for my sake. It gives me an idea of the places I still need to go. But yeah, that's been kind of a fun thing. Your map would be insane to have a map of where
yeah, I know. I looked at your map. I said, that's a good idea. I think I'm going to copy that.
Good stuff. All right. Well, hey, be safe out there. We'll continue watching, and I hope many more people from this channel, like I said, start following you. And just good luck, and thanks for joining us this week.
Okie doke. Thank you very much.